women have sent these men money, all right? Have done all kinds of things. And again, they weren't picking the youngest one or this one. They were picking on who they could tell was, all right, she probably doesn't have anybody talking to her right now. Let me go after her.
Yeah.
So, all that to say, be open, be flexible, evaluate the person for who they are the same way you want people to evaluate you for who you are. We have to stop projecting onto groups of people because of our narrow vision of how some people in that age group or that demographic operate. So now let's talk about the healing process. So, in everything that we are trying to do in life, it all starts with, one, getting in tune with your spirit, but two, healing. The reality is that I'm a firm believer, when you don't heal from your past, you are 99% likely to choose the wrong person. And here's the reason why. When you haven't healed because you've been hurt, and whatever, it doesn't matter what hurt you, parents, relationship, whatever, you will fear vulnerability, all right? In fearing being vulnerable, you will now consciously or subconsciously choose someone who doesn't make you that vulnerable. So for a woman, what happens is you get hurt. I have this theory. I believe that the cycle of a lot of women go through is that when you were younger, let's just say high school, you had your first love, maybe even early college. That first love for a woman is intense because there's no fear in you. You're still holding on to the fantasy, the belief that this can work out. I found this man I love. So you're going all in. You're writing his name on your notebook. You're doing all kinds of crazy, silly stuff, all right? But at that age, the average boy, the average man is incapable of handling that level of emotion, that level of commitment. So in most cases, he will do something to hurt you. And the reality is that human beings, we're all flawed. So it doesn't matter what age, people are going to hurt you sometimes. And that's the thing we have to realize about healing is that life is never free from hurt. So it's all about how we process and handle the hurt and not let it defeat us or dwell in it. But the woman now, she gets hurt. And again, you guys have this moment where you tell yourself, I will never let that happen to me again. And now you will choose a man who, again, isn't the man for you, but he's good enough to be with and you can maintain emotional control. Men do the same thing. I would say it's not as often as women, but I know a guy who got hurt by his baby's mother in college. And since then, he swore off dating pretty women and women who had a lot going on for themselves. He literally could have a woman throw themselves at him and he wouldn't do it. He had to deal with a woman that he saw essentially beneath himself because it felt safer there. He had to feel the value in the relationship, that he was the more valuable one. A lot of women, you do that. And then you try to force these relationships with men who don't belong in your life because they never really take you there. You're not really into them like that. And you think you're protecting yourself by choosing this type of guy. You think he's safe, but the safe choice is usually the wrong choice. And what happens is inevitably, you get hurt. Another example is like a woman will get with a guy. And sometimes women will purposely get with a guy they're not heavily attracted to. I've had women say to me, I will never be with the man who's the best looking in the room. She feels like it's too much work, too much of a headache, right? So you get with this respectfully ugly duckling. All right, just work with me here. Just work with me here. You get with this dude who's not that great looking. And in your mind, you're thinking, he ain't cute enough to cheat on me. He ain't cute enough to disrespect me.
The ones cheating.
He ain't cute enough to think that he can do things and get away with it. No, he will honor and respect me because I am the prize in this situation.
The ugly ones cheat the most.
And 9 times out of 10, what happens? Either you cheat or he does. Because you were never really into him, and because you were never really into him, you cannot be the woman that he needs, and he will never be the man that you need. So either he will wake up from his pursuit and now go look for it elsewhere, or you will get tired of it and start to get it elsewhere. You may not leave that man, but you will seek to fill that void elsewhere. A lot of people, men and women, have had this happen to them. And again, it all stems from not healing. So, how do we heal? I'm going to give a quick rundown. The whole rundown is in the book, Love After Heartbreak, that you can get over there. I'm going to give a quick rundown, but you need to really dive into all the steps and all the things you got to do for healing. But the first thing I want everyone to do is when you get a chance, get a piece of paper at home and you write down who hurt me. And then ask yourself that question, who hurt me? And now every person that comes to mind, put them on the paper. It doesn't matter how long ago it happened, doesn't matter how irrelevant you think it is. If they come to mind, there is relevance there. They're lingering somewhere in your spirit. Put them down, and now this is your opportunity to identify all the hurt. You may be surprised what comes out when you ask yourself that question. Because a lot of us suppress what we've been through. And we've never faced it. We keep using life to run. We use kids to distract ourselves, work. Some people are hiding behind God and not facing the real issues. And that's why you'll see, I remember one time, there was a woman where I was speaking at this event at somebody's house. And this woman, you could tell she was very angry, very bitter, very hurt. And when she told her story, she said, you know, however many years ago, she was struggling with dating and she figured, okay, I'm gonna give my life to God and let God bring me a man. And giving her life to God meant she's gonna go devote her time to the church. And she devoted her time to the church, I think like 5 days a week for 10 years. No man. And she was mad at God. And I know this may have hurt her, but I had to ask her, did God tell you to go work in that church? Or did you decide for yourself? Did you think if I just do certain things God wants, for example, it's hitting my spirit, being abstinent, being celibate. Now, listen, I'm in no way saying don't be celibate or abstinent, all right? Do your thing. It's a great thing to do. What I'm saying is, what is your intent? If you're doing it thinking that God will bless me because I'm abstinent with a man, that's not the way it works. You be abstinent to remove the distractions. You be abstinent not to get yourself caught up spiritually with different individuals. You be abstinent so that you can have more time for God. But that doesn't mean God will say, okay, now the man is coming. You may need another couple years before certain things have to happen before he can now bring that man. And going back to what I said earlier, it might be in the path of your purpose that you meet your partner. So if you're not walking in your purpose, that might be the reason why he hasn't come yet. Because if that man comes before, or woman, comes before you have figured yourself out, here's what will happen. I had one couple where when they got married, the man was a physical therapist, the wife was an occupational therapist. The marriage wasn't the greatest, but they tried to make it work. 15 years in, now this man wants to be an actor, a model, an author, be all on TV, all this extra stuff. And she was like, hell no, I didn't sign up for this. I don't want this life. Now his thing was, this is my purpose, this is what God wants me to do. Now I can't argue whether he was telling the truth about that part, but the point is, he got to a point in life that he now figured out what he wanted to do, and it wasn't in alignment with who he was with. And so now what will happen in many situations is, if you get with the wrong person before you have figured some things out about yourself, that person can derail you from your purpose. That person can hinder you, hold you back, distract you, and you never go down the path you're supposed to go. There's a lot of women not walking in their purpose because the man they're with is like an anchor in their life, completely throwing them off path. So, going back to healing, you gotta heal, do the letter, who hurt me list. After that, again, just to run through the process, there's gonna be a process of getting things off your chest, writing letters. Again, in the book, I break down how to do it, but I'm gonna say the first draft of the letter, understand, it's a chance for you to emotionally detox. You gotta get everything out. A lot of people will say to me, I've written a letter before. I've said something before. Yes, but many times when you wrote that letter before, you wrote it trying to find the right words. You wrote it not being mindful of getting everything out. It's like doing a physical detox for 2 days when it requires 7. You haven't gotten everything to flush out yet. So you gotta still do that process. And talking usually does not work, because when we try to express ourselves and with deep concerns and feelings, we get distracted, they listen to rebuttal, they end up getting defensive, a distraction comes. Lots of verbal conversations don't end up going anywhere. Or they only get half of the work done, or a portion of it done. A letter is the most effective tool to get the full message across, and it allows them a chance to read it, process it, then get back to you. So it works a lot better. And again, everything's in the book, so it's going to be about the letter, it's going to be about forgiving, it's going to be about changing your mindset. But understand that whatever you are looking to have happen in your life, whatever better that you want, healing has to be a part of the process. You can't overlook it. All right, so I'm not gonna lie, I forgot some of the other topics y'all mentioned. So let's throw out 3 more topics.
Hinting.
Hinting?
To a guy that you're interested in.
Okay.
What to expect in a new relationship?
What to expect in a new relationship?
Like mentally and different things like that. Like what to expect from your opposite mate.
Okay.
Love after divorce.
Love after divorce.
Betrayal.
Betrayal. Okay. Who wants? So we're gonna start with love after divorce simply because I've heard that multiple times now in the crowd. So to be honest with you, narcissistic abuse, love after divorce, all these things boil down to healing. I think that a lot of times we think things are different because it's a different dynamic, but it all boils down to the same principles. So the same way I'm going to tell you to heal from a narcissist is the same way I'm going to tell you to heal from a past relationship or a divorce. The one thing though I will say with divorce, it's a little bit different, is that, and even from the narcissistic abuse behavior, actually there are a couple things I have to mention that are different. So one, let's start with the narcissistic abuse. A lot of times when people hurt us, we internalize what they did to us. And the problem isn't only forgiving them, but it's forgiving ourselves. And we beat ourselves up for staying in this relationship, how long we stayed, how we allowed this to happen, how did we miss the red flags, all these different things. We've got to learn that we all make mistakes. You can't keep beating yourself up. You have to learn from it, and you grow and you move forward. But you have to also understand that for you to end up in a relationship with a narcissist, chances are there were things from your past you never healed from to begin with. So when we talk about healing, I don't want you to focus on just healing from your last heartbreak, your last relationship, your last occurrence of disappointment. I want you to heal from everything. Childhood, all of it. Friends, family, it doesn't matter because all of it plays a role as to why we entertain, who we entertain, and how we end up in certain cycles. All right? Now, also with divorce, what I want to mention is there's always this question of when is it okay to date after divorce? How long does it take to heal? The healing process is going to be as long as you make it. How quickly are you willing to work through all the steps? How quickly are you willing to now practice the mindset and embrace the forgiveness? Healing is not about it's going to be 5 months, 6 months. It's dependent on the person and each individual. And when it's time for you to date is when you can go out there with a positive mindset, with an open heart, where you're not going to project the negativity that happened to you before onto this new individual. So that's your barometer of, okay, now I'm ready to take that next step. But again, all those things boil down to healing the same way. It will not change. It's going to be the letters, it's going to be the who hurt me list, all that stuff. Because again, there are root issues that need to be addressed that you've been overlooking. Now, I ain't gonna lie, I ain't getting much sleep, so I keep forgetting the damn.
You was at the casino.
We were in LA yesterday, we had to do a show, and then we had to fly late night. It's a whole bunch of stuff.
I'm like, he stopped at the casino before he came.
I remember hearing manipulation earlier. Okay? Actually, before we get to manipulation, let me get to what to expect in a new relationship. So, one, let me say this. I don't believe in expecting
I'm not able to type
in life. I believe that when we expect, we set ourselves up for disappointment. All right? Because expectation is you're supposed to do this. You will do this. I expect you to do this. So when you don't, what the hell's wrong with you? Rather than, no, I set my standard. You will either meet it or you don't. I don't expect you to meet it. You might fall way short. And if you do, oh well, on to the next. If you meet it, okay, cool, we move forward. The mindset is very different. And the mindset will help you not get so invested because again, you're expecting the situation to go a certain kind of way, and when it doesn't, you're devastated. But whose fault is that really? Not to blame you, not to have you beat yourself up, but for you to understand, did that person even tell you they can meet that expectation? Or did you just assume that because everything else was looking good? And you assume that, well, if he's serious about me or she's serious, she'll do X, Y, Z. Listen, people grow up differently. People have been taught different things. We don't all have the same information. There are things that I can say to y'all today, you're like, oh, I've heard this a million times before. And in the next crowd, you'll be like, I never heard it. It blows their mind. You never know what people have already been exposed to. Which is why when I mentioned, I don't think I mentioned it earlier, but which is why in my videos, I always talk about addressing the red flags. So when you are in, when you are in a relationship, there's gonna be things that happen. People are gonna get some things wrong. The problem is we see it and we just run. And really you're running because you're running from your past trauma. You're running from what triggered you that looks like what happened to you last time. You have to learn to discuss it because sometimes it's just a misunderstanding. And how you tell if someone is very serious about you is not in what they do on their own, it's what they do with the information you give them. If you express to this individual, let's say you're a woman expressing to a man, I don't like you texting all the time. Because there's a lot of women that complain that all men want to do is text. Now here's the tricky thing. Some of y'all don't realize there's a lot of women who want to only text. So if that man just dated 5 women before you and all they did was text, he does not know to come into your situation and start blowing up your phone. Another perfect example was, I was on a show a few months ago and the host told me how she has a friend that went on this date with this guy, and at the end of the date, the check comes. And when the check comes, the man looked at her, she looked at the man. The man looked at her, she looked at the man. They're both looking like, you gonna take that damn check? All right, so after like a couple minutes of just sitting there, no one doing anything, the man was like, oh, thank God you're not like the rest of them. And she was like, what are you talking about? He said the last date he went on, when he reached to pay for the check, the woman chewed him out. Oh, you don't think I can pay for my own check? What's wrong with you? And just gave him a whole earful. This dude was so traumatized that on the next day, he didn't want to touch the check. Not because he wasn't willing to pay for it. He just went, of course, he needs to heal from that. But the point is, this is what happens where things get thrown off and we think this person's just not serious, this person's this. No, they may not know what you're looking for. So when we talk about what to expect in a new relationship, do not expect. Set your standards, all right? And understand that it's a learning process. The key is this person willing to learn and make corrections, or are they gonna dismiss how you feel and make excuses? Because if they do that, then you get rid of them. Now, this wasn't on the list, but I feel the need to talk about this. Because it's very near and dear to my heart. And it was actually, I don't know if I can say what show I was on the other day, but it was a very heated discussion on the show I was on yesterday. And that's about masculine and feminine energy in dating and relationships. All right?
That's what I needed.
So let me start off by saying, I know we live at a time where a lot of people will say, well, there's a lot of men being feminine, there's a lot of women being masculine. The roles are reversing, all right? And there's a lot of different reasons why the roles have reversed. The first thing that you have to determine as individuals is, what dynamic do you want in your life? Do you want to be the one as a woman carrying the masculine energy most of the time, or do you want a man who can do that? Once you determine what you want, then we can go from there as far as what you need to do within yourself to receive that kind of relationship. But here's why it's so important, and here's why I'm a firm believer in this whole, the need for it. Because in the discussion yesterday, there were some people saying, well, why do we even need to discuss this? It's not important. Why are we labeling it? What I have found is that this whole pursuit of equality is nonsense. No disrespect to anyone who believes in it. Here's the thing. We are equal in value as to the success of this relationship. We are equal in value in God's eyes, but we are not equal beings. We aren't even equal man to man. I can't do what LeBron does. LeBron can't get on this stage and talk like me neither, all right? We have our differences. We're not equal. That's normal. So now we have to figure out, how do we complement each other in a relationship? Now, if you are a woman who desires to have a masculine man, then you have to understand the need to exude more feminine energy, all right? You can't think that you can be masculine and a masculine man will want you in return. You'll hear women say, oh, well, he's just not strong enough. No, he don't want to deal with your ass, all right? I'm sorry. I'm sorry I had to say it like that. I tried to hold it back, but it came out, all right? I'm sorry. He does not want to deal with that energy because, and here's the thing, it's not even because you're a woman. It's because a strong masculine energy does not want to deal with a resisting masculine energy. Look at even in sports. If you put two alpha men on a team, like a basketball team, they will implode. Because now each one is trying to lead the team. Each one is taking the ball. One might start to hog the ball, and now they're conflicting. So it's not even about, oh, because you're a woman, you can't be. No, it's not going to work if you want that kind of a man there. Now, how many women in here want a feminine, soft, passive man? Go ahead, show your hands. How many of y'all want that? None. None. Exactly. All right? So if you don't want that, why would the man want the opposite?
All right.
And you've got to understand, okay, if that's the key, and I'm struggling in that area, why? A lot of women will say, well, I'm just not feminine. But put that same woman around a child, and she's sweet, she's loving, she's charming. Bring a man around, shut the whole damn thing down. It's a wrap. No more feminine energy. Out the door. All right? You want to know why that happens? Because the child is no threat to you. The child is an innocent being for you to pour love and receive love back from. The man is danger. The man scares you. The man makes you fear vulnerability, so you put your walls up. But the same walls you put to protect you are the same walls blocking your blessings. You can't think that trying to navigate life through fear is going to help you. And the reality is that you will get more out of being feminine. Because here's another issue that I come across a lot. A lot of women who operate within the professional environment, you guys have been conditioned to believing that you have to be masculine to get the respect, to allow yourself to be promoted in this business. I even had a lawyer who, not lawyer, yeah, she was a lawyer. And she said to me, I had to be a B to get ahead. And I said, no, you got ahead despite being a B. You are so good at what you do, they have to promote you, but they don't like you. They can't stand you, all right? And so you have to understand, many of you have seen women in the workplace, no knowledge, no skill, rise to the top. All off of charm and looks. So how can you convince me that if you combine a woman that has knowledge, skill, with charms and presentation, that she won't become the most unstoppable woman in that workplace? You will have people eating out the palm of your hands. And I'm not just saying that. I've seen it happen with my clients where I had a woman, she was a doctor, she was the head doctor of the hospital. They all hated her too. Once she changed her energy, everyone's saying hello to her. They want to be helpful to her. They're all receptive to her. So being feminine isn't just about the type of man you want. It's the type of life you want. It's about you first. Because the reality is that you are not happy carrying around all that masculine energy. That masculine energy is a defense mechanism. It's emotional stress. This is why you will see women, they can be working out, they can be eating decent, and they still end up getting cancer. I'm not saying that this is the only reason why they get cancer. I am telling you that I've seen many people that they looked great on the outside, but they were going through tons of emotional stress, toxic relationships, and in all those dynamics, they were the masculine one in the relationship. They were the one having to lead a no-good man who wasn't taking care of his business. And that was a burden to the woman. So again, you have to ask yourself, what kind of life do you want to live? All right? Now, here's a couple things to help quickly. Of course, healing will help unlock a lot of this issue because again, the struggle for a lot of women in being feminine is the struggle in being vulnerable. And so once you understand that your fear of vulnerability comes from what you've been hurt from in the past, because there's a lot of women who will say, well, being feminine is what got me hurt. Being feminine got me played. Being feminine got me taken advantage of. Being feminine wasn't the problem, your selection process was. Who you chose to entertain, who you chose to overlook the red flags with, who you chose to ignore your intuition with. Because 99 times out of 100, a woman knows this ain't the guy for me. But you convince yourself all the reasons to give him a chance. To rationalize past your intuition only for the situation to blow up later. Again, I don't want you to feel bad about it. I want you to be aware so that you can make better decisions going forward. And that's why I want you to get in tune with your spirit, because spirit and intuition go hand in hand. And when you can be more in tune with it, you can see things more clearly. So, how to help with your feminine energy. Just a couple quick things, but again, the deeper stuff is the healing. So one quick thing you can start doing is smile. That's it, very smile. Look at you, I still meat mugging me right now. All right, listen.
Let me throw on
there's
a
study that
smile.
shows women are found more attractive when they smile. And it doesn't matter if it's in person, a profile photo, because a lot of y'all on y'all social media photos, mean mugging there too, and it's a problem, all right? And I always say, like, I've been in so many cities, I see wonderful women everywhere, and y'all looking mean. And my thing is, listen, if you don't want to be bothered, cool. Nothing wrong with that, so be it. You want to have your resting bee face? Go at it, right? However, you can't do that and then come to me and say, why is no one talking to me? Why am I not meeting any men? What's the problem with these guys? You look too difficult. You look unapproachable. You have to create an environment where a man can feel comfortable to even say hello to you. Are you even showing him any kind of interest? I'm not saying pursue the man, but just showing him, yes, he is welcome to come talk to you and engage with you. So smiling will help. And I'm not saying walk around like a clown all day with a big old smile on your face. But at the very least, when you see a man you like, smile. When you're in an environment where you want to meet people, smile. Because again, it doesn't just work with men, it works with everybody. Women, children, pets, dogs will follow you down the damn street if you're a feminine woman. All right, it just happens like that. But all of that helps. And for any person that says, well, I just don't smile, my response is this. When you are at peace from within, smiling comes easy. So if you are not smiling naturally, ask yourself, am I at peace? What's going on within me? What am I stressing about in my head? What can I possibly take off my plate? Am I pouring into myself? Am I loving myself? People love to say they love themselves, but what have you done for you lately? You know what I'm saying? Like, it sounds good, but what actions have you actually taken to pour into yourself? And I will tell you this, for most of us, we need a structured routine to pour into ourselves. So don't think you can just go willy-nilly and do when you feel like it. No, you need to see if you can carve out a day or maybe a couple hours a week, maybe one time a month if you don't have the time. But you need a structured amount of time that this is my day. This is my day to love me, to do for me, to rest, to relax, and not be bothered with anything. Because here's the other thing that I realized, and I really want to bring it up in that discussion yesterday. We underestimate emotional fatigue when it comes to women. Emotional exhaustion. You can correct me if I'm wrong, but y'all are in y'all head 24/7, all right? Processing, thinking, analyzing. This is why I realize, you know how like people will tell you stories, married couples, where they drop the kids off and the man's ready to get into it and the woman's still worried about what's going on with the kids? Because y'all can't help but just still think and process. Do the kids have enough food? Are they happy there? Are they good? You struggle with detaching mentally. So, I lost my train of thought as to why I brought that up. Take care of yourself. Yes, so yes, emotional exhaustion. So with that, what I've noticed is that so many women are overburdening themselves. You're putting too much on your plate. Yes, you may physically be able to handle it, but can you mentally handle it? And when the mind goes, the body will go with it.
Yep.
All right?
So
you're now tired, or you're not as effective in certain areas because you are worn out. And I know this firsthand because I have the same problem at times. I'm always thinking, I'm always processing, I'm always doing stuff. And that's when I realize, like, damn, this is what women go through. And a lot of men are more, not to insult the men here or any men anywhere, but we tend to be more absent-minded. We tend to move on very quickly mentally. Like I was saying earlier, one of the arguments we were having on the TV show was that the need for a man to lead in a relationship. Now, how many by a show of hands believes the man should be the leader in the relationship? All right, is there anyone here that doesn't believe that the man should be the leader in the relationship?
I think it should be equal.
All right, so I'm gonna try not to make this part long because we got so many other things to talk about. But here's one of my arguments as to why the man should lead. One, you have to ask yourself as a woman, what can I sustain and be happy with over the long term? If you as a woman, because there's a lot of people that say, well, we should be co-leaders, all right? No one has to officially lead this relationship. Here's what typically ends up happening. There is no leader, and as long as there's no huge issue that comes about, you guys are cool. When the day comes that he feels passionately about his side and you feel about yours, this is when everything goes left. Because now there's no structure in place that says who gets the final say so here. So now it's a free-for-all of battling who will get their way. And you know who gets their way 99 times out of 100? The woman, absolutely. Because y'all will fight to the damn death, all right? Y'all will make that man to live in hell if he don't give you what you want. And so even if he does his way and you accept it on the surface, but you ain't sleeping with him that night. You ain't cooking for him the same way. You're going to be stank with him the rest of the week. He will feel it. And what happens now is the man will start to default to the woman. You've heard plenty of men, married men say, just give her what she wants. Just say yes. Just make her happy, right? Now what happens is, when future issues come about, and now you're not in the mood to make a decision, because maybe you're emotionally exhausted. You got too much going on. You need him to handle it. You know what he says? Well, what do you want to do? You do it. Now you're frustrated. Now you're looking at him like, oh, sorry ass can't make a decision when I need you to. You can't step up when I need you to. What's wrong with you? You don't take initiative. Now you lose attraction to him. Now, God forbid, you have to make a decision under duress. It's the wrong decision. Now you're going to be mad that he forced you in that position. Do you see where I'm going with this? It just goes downhill from there. And one thing I have seen in all the relationships that I have studied and talked to, you've never heard a man complain about leading the relationship as long as he's being respected and loved. But you will hear about tons of women complain that they have to lead the relationship. It's cool at first, but at some point it becomes a huge burden, because the other problem is this: people have to learn to master the skill that's going to be required of them in a relationship. If he doesn't learn how to make proper decisions, he will not be equipped to do so 5 years into the relationship. And men will adapt to whatever you condition them to. So if a man asks you, let me carry your groceries, and you tell him, no, I got it. He asks you 2 more times, no, I got it. He will stop asking you. It's a wrap. It's not because he's not capable, it's not because he doesn't want to, but you have conditioned him to, I got it, I can handle it. Let's go further than that. Some of you will say, I have no one to lean on, that everyone comes to you for help. You know why? Because when they ask you if you need help, you say, no, I got it. You have all your friends and family thinking, how many times have y'all heard people say, I didn't check on you because I thought you're always okay. I thought, to me, you're just strong. You can handle anything. They've been fooled into thinking you don't need or want help, so now they stop giving it to you. Now, I'm not saying be a damsel in distress and make yourself a needy woman just to get some help. What I am saying is let people do for you. That's it. Let people do for you. And in regards to the man leading in the relationship, look at it as an opportunity to remove a burden off of your plate. Because again, as we talk about emotional exhaustion, decision making is exhausting. When you have to process all those things, that's why if you ever study billionaires, they tell you, they will, when you see billionaires that wear the same thing every day, do you know why? Because they're eliminating a decision out of their life. They understand that every decision requires brain power, requires energy, and it takes away from your ability to be effective in the next decision. So their goal is eliminate as many little decisions as possible and only focus on the big ones. So you as a woman are trying to handle all that you handle in life and the relationship decisions. It doesn't mean your input does not matter. It doesn't mean he shouldn't talk to you. It doesn't mean he should not value your input. It just means you have to have a structure that allows him to lead so that you can rest. Rest in your peace. Rest in your femininity. And if you say, well, I can't trust him to lead, then why are you with him? Plain and simple. Why are you with him? Go get a new man. That's it. Simple. All right? But now, another thing outside of smiling that you can do that can help raise your feminine energy is the colors that you wear. So some of y'all may have seen this in a video before, but colors give off energy, all right? And whether we realize it or not, consciously or subconsciously, we come to certain conclusions based off of people's presentation. So for example, if you saw a man walking down the street and he was already a very soft-looking man, let's just say, and he's wearing pink and pastels and all kinds of sweet colors, what will you think? Exactly, I said gay. Exactly. You will assume that. He may be the most heterosexual man on the face of this earth, but the presentation and the colors he's wearing will make y'all assume, some, that he is gay. However, if he was a very masculine, tattooed up, strong looking man, but he had a pink shirt, would you jump to that conclusion? No, less likely. Why? Because the rest of his presentation is balancing out the energy that he's giving off. So as a woman, I had a woman where she came to me, this was back in Atlanta, and at that time I was doing one-on-one sessions with people. So we did a house call for her. And she was telling me how she was having a hard time meeting men. And I think she was like ex-military, whatever. Anyways, we go to her, I said, let me look at your closet. We open her closet, what do I see? Black, dark brown, navy blue, hunt green, gray, just a gloomy ass closet, all right?
Is that style?
Depressing in her closet, okay? Now, my thing to her was like, you already come off hard. You already come off strong. Then you're wearing these very masculine colors. You're doubling down on it. You need to throw some balance. You either have to get yourself to a more softer place or have the clothes help you. Preferably both, all right? But you have to understand how all of that plays into how people receive you. Because here's the reality. For the vast majority of you, with the right man, you know how to be feminine.
The right
The
man.
problem is receiving the right man. So basically, you can't say, well, I'm going to project this masculine energy, and if a man is for me, he'll want to peel back the layers and learn that I'm truly feminine so we can be together. That's like a man walking around looking like he's homeless, saying, well, you should get to know me first to learn I actually got money. I'm just presenting myself this way. Don't jump to no conclusion. You don't got time to talk to every man who looks homeless to see if he has some financial stability in his life. No, if he doesn't present that immediately, you are going to pass on him. So a lot of men pass on you because they figure you don't have that energy within you. But when you start to exude it, you will see a huge difference in your life. So that's a couple things, but like I said, I really want you, and for anyone who's still struggling with the feminine energy part, even the man leading part, talk to God about it. Like, go to God and let's see if you can find more clarity and peace through that. And again, understand that I don't tell you these things for the sake of a man having power over you or whatever. I'm telling you these things so that you can be happier. I've seen what works, what does not work. I see where women have found their peace and where they have not. And in this dynamic, they tend to. It's just a struggle for a lot of women at first until you get comfortable and used to it. And let me say this before we move on to the next thing. Once you learn how to use your feminine energy, you can get what you want out of him anyway. Men are weak to feminine energy. One quick example, think about the strip club. I don't know if any of y'all have ever been to a strip club, but if you ever go to a strip club, you'll see that sometimes the woman that makes the most money is not the woman who looks the best, dances the best, or even has the best body. A lot of times it's the woman who talks to the customer the best. She knows how to make him feel good. That doesn't mean she can look however she wants to look, but as long as the other things are at least decent, if she knows how to talk to him and stroke his ego, even though it sounds bad, just think about it as fill his cup up with positive energy, man, that same man will come back to a strip club and pay that woman every single time, and she doesn't have to do much. There are men who go to these clubs, know they can't take home a woman, and will still give him her paycheck. Give her his paycheck. Why? It sounds stupid, but it really speaks to how a lot of men just want someone to make them feel good. And when you learn how to do that, and of course, they have a responsibility to provide for you or to do the things that you need and require of them. So when both parties can come together and do their part, that's how we start having amazing relationships. So somebody throw out one more topic. I heard ghosting.
Like dealing with somebody while you're in the stage, like is that possible?
Okay, so we're gonna, go ahead real quick.
Talk to yourself, secret.
Okay,